What's the issue? Hold on, you guys. I don't know why lately my freaking yeah, I don't know why lately this has been giving me a problem, but this has been an ongoing thing. Like lately, sometimes you guys can hear me, sometimes you can't. That has started to annoy me because I am here to report. I don't have time to not be heard. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, I think you heard. Hey everybody. Hey, 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 hey. Good afternoon. I guess they said when you decide to start a live before time, then I guess you have to deal with the whole, you know what? We don't hear you. You shouldn't be talking at this point anyway. So what if we do not let your lives work? Because that irritates me. That really irritates me when you guys cannot hear me. Yes, for whatever reason, it's been doing that lately, and that is irritating. But good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I guess once again, when you started live too early, they say, you know what? We don't want to hear it. You shouldn't have been starting that early. The time you said you would start it was 12 o'clock. Do what you have to do. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Operation Hill 100 Hearts channel, where we do what? Focus on healing, humor, and hot mother freaking topics. So I know you guys have been peeping that I'm in my interview bag. I am in my interview review bag. Now, the number one reason I'm in this bag is because I absolutely love to hear about people's stories, their transformations, their glow ups, so on and so forth. I've always been like that since I was younger. I've always paid attention to how people persevered and made it through because at some point I imagine sitting somewhere sharing my story to help someone persevere and make it through. Now, today's interview recap is from a podcast called Poor Minds. I actually never heard of this podcast before. This is actually my first time watching it, and it's with two beautiful young ladies named Lex P and Dre and Nicole. If you guys are familiar with this podcast, let me know. I personally have never heard of it, but it was so good watching. So let's get into the interview. And it was with my girl Kash Doll. Like I said, these were two beautiful women, Dre and Nicole and Lex P. They're actually two girls that are from Texas. In my opinion, Lex P kind of gives me like the light skin Keisha vibes, and Dre and Nicole gives me the Jada Waiter vibes. It's so crazy because as time went along and I watched the interview, Cash Doll ended up saying that Lex P gives her B Simone vibes. And I was like, oh, okay, I could kind of see that once you see her personality accompanied with her looks. And she also said that Dre and Nicole gave her Jada Waiter. And Dre and Nicole was like, me and Jada Waiter hear it all the time, right? Because they do favor each other and the accent and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget to hit the thumbs up on the video. Please like the video as you are entering. That is your free way of letting me know you have entered the building and the chat. Please like the video. And if you like to leave a message, please do so in the chat so I can shout you out. Anywho, let's get into the interview, right? So, of course, initially when they started the interview, they did the check-in. So I like that because it just checks the temperature of the room to see what's going on. And it was like, listen, from black women to black women, we just want to know before we even get started, like, how you doing? How are you doing? Really, how are you doing? So Cash and Cash Doll seemed to be in wonderful spirits. Cash Doll was like, you know what? I'm well. I'm well. She said, I'm doing good. She said, the bottom line is, I'm learning to accept life on life's terms. So for me, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm not stressing. I'm not being bothered. I'm not hurting nobody. I'm doing what I have to do. And I'm doing pretty much okay. So I liked her response because I felt like it was genuine. I didn't feel like she was trying to be on some, trying to front and make it seem like nothing was bothering her and so on and so forth. No, it's more so if things are bothering me at the moment, I'm just letting it rock because I'm trying to be okay and I'm dealing with life on life's terms. So I was like, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Because, lately in the last couple of weeks, she has been through a lot. So it was good to see her give a genuine response. I thought that was admirable. So, anywho, they brought up Cash being the queen of Detroit and how they had Payroll Giovanni on the show before. And Payroll Giovanni is Cash Doll's best friend, Kendra. That's her baby father. And then they began discussing the friendship between Kendra and Cash Doll. And Cash Doll said something that my friend Mo, me and my friend Mo always say, shout out Magical Mo. You guys, if you're in sidebar, if you're interested in getting your tree put up or your Christmas decor, please hit up my girl Magical Mo. Magical Mo. Magical spelled Magical. Mo spelled Moe. And she's actually in her tree decor bag as she is every time this year the season comes up. She's decorating trees, putting up your home decor, making everything look beautiful and very, very Christmassy for the holidays. So hit her up. Anywho, what Cash Doll said was something that she and I say to each other. She said that Kendra is her soulmate friend. Me and Mo call it SMF. But she said that Kendra is her soulmate friend. She was like, they met when they were younger in church. And she was like, Kendra has been doing her hair since she's a teenager. And once that started, they went separate ever since, right? She said they never had an argument. The only times that they've had a few disagreements is really over the hair situation, right? She said, but nothing ever serious. She said she feels like the friendship has lasted this long because they're very similar in a lot of ways and they treat each other the way they would want to be treated themselves, right? And she said that's the only way that she can see a relationship and a bond staying strong is if you treat a person how you want to be treated, especially if they're similar to you, and also you communicate with one another, right? And then Cash talked about something that resonated with me, right? It's actually something me and Pookie talked about earlier. She said that she thinks people think that they only have to prioritize and nurture their romantic relationships. She says, no, you have to prioritize all of the relationships in your life. So your relationship with your children, your relationship with your family, your relationships with your friends, your business relationships. She was like, all of them have to be nurtured. And when she said that, the reason why it resonated with me because me and Pookie was having that conversation earlier about, us being a couple and having 8 years in now and not necessarily prioritizing our relationship because we thinking about it like, oh, we live together. You know what I'm saying? When it's like, yeah, y'all do, but y'all can also make time specifically for one another instead of just looking at it as because you're in a house together, you're spending time. Because really and truly, we're not. I'm doing what I have to do when I'm home. He's doing what he has to do. And then we're both off to work, right? One of the things that resonated with me on that end, right? But the part that she said about nurturing your other relationships, that didn't so much resonate with me because I feel like I've already done that in the past. I think for me, I'm in a space where I need to nurture and prioritize my relationship with myself because I feel like a lot of times I'm very easily distracted. And in the past, I have spent a lot of time, structuring and nurturing and prioritizing my relationships with other people. And when I was doing that, I was more focusing on what was making others better instead of what was making me better. That's why I was at the heaviest I was in weight, which means my health wasn't good. That's why I wasn't really doing what I needed to do in my personal life, my career, wasn't taking care of myself, wasn't educating myself because I'm so busy trying to work. I'm trying to help other people and prioritizing them. So for me, I got what Cash Doll was saying about nurturing and prioritizing outside relationships. I'm just in a space in my life where I need to nurture and prioritize the relationship I have with self, right? So, anywho, she talked about, how she and Kendra are very close, and because they are so similar in ways, they like to do things for each other that that they know would make themselves feel special. She was like, she bought Kendra a Birkin bag before she even bought herself one. Right. And then she talked about how, two beautiful, successful women can coexist in the same space if they are both willing to do the work. Right. One of the reasons, because I know all about friendship, I'm probably have a PhD in it because I've had very different variations of friends. I've had male best friends, female best friends. I've had long-term friendships. I've had short-term friendships. And what she said in that moment about both parties willing to do the work, That's one part of it. The other part of it that I feel like is a formula that helps her and Kendra's relationship stay so solid is because she said Kendra is very similar to her, right? Whereas with me, most of my friendships, if not all, these women were very opposite me, right? And because of that, I assumed I would like to hang out with somebody that's opposite me, because then I can learn from them and get things from them that I wouldn't have thought of myself, and apply things to my life that I wouldn't naturally think of, because they are totally different spirits and have totally different mind frames. So that would help me grow. What I came to realize as I got older was that was the wrong formula for my friendships. I don't need women to be similar to me, but I do need folks around me who are like-minded. Because what ended up happening was in my friendships was that I'm getting to a point where me and those other women are not like-minded. And not only are we bumping heads, it's starting to become a hostile environment because we think so differently. Okay. And because of that, a lot of my friendships ended just because of the way people think and react and respond to things is totally opposite of the way that I do things. And really and truly, I don't think, and I'm pretty sure they felt the same way, what the other person is doing is the right way, if there is a right way. Right. So I think that Cash Doll definitely made a point by saying, both parties have to be willing to do the work. But I also feel like I'm going to add to that and say both parties have to be like-minded. You don't have to be the same person, but you do have to be like-minded in a lot of areas for the relationship to grow. Right. So then they switched gears and they was asking Cash Doll, what it felt like to grow up in Detroit. And she was like, life was pretty good in Detroit. She was like, don't get me wrong, we wasn't rich. She was like, but for the most part, life was pretty good. The only thing that was really tragic was that her dad passed on her first birthday. She said that she has 5 siblings, so she's the eldest of 6. And she said just her whole life she's been a dreamer. She's been a dreamer. She said she pretty much envisioned who Kash Doll was from a little girl, right? So she kind of knew this would be her lifestyle. Not to mention she was always popular. She was always the life of the party, so she kind of figured that this is who I will be as I get older. She said she had so many siblings, and because it wasn't much money to go around, she started working very young. So she got her first job when she was 15 years old. And once again, this was very relatable to me as well, because I'm in the middle. My dad has um 2 older children. My mom has 4 children of her own, but I'm the eldest of the 4 that my mom has. And I mean, all in all, once again, we didn't grow up rich. So immediately it was my thought process to be like, number one, you need to get out there and get some money because your parents don't have it to do for everybody. And then number 2 on the list, I'm also a dreamer. I'm also a visionary. Like, for example, everybody and their mother, specifically, I'll name my sister Tiki. She always says this. She like, girl, every fucking thing you doing right now, you've been doing since you came out the womb, which is running your mouth, trying to heal and mentor people. Like, this has always been your lane, right? You've never been shy. You've never been afraid. This is what you do. And it is. It is. It's just I was trying to get my feet on solid ground to figure out how I can do that in a capacity that suits me, right? So then they moved on. They're asking her about her legendary hair, which, oh my God, I'm in love with Kash Doll here as well. It actually looks phenomenal on this interview too. And you can tell this is a women's podcast because Kash Doll did a few things that I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have did on like Gillian Wallow's podcast. She took out her comb and combed her wig. She was putting on her lip gloss because you could tell she felt very comfortable with these ladies. So anyway, they were asking her about her legendary hair and saying, you're very, very popular for that. And, I mean, how do you keep it up so well? And she was like, no, I do the best that I can. I do the best that I can. She was like, not to mention having Kendra is always a beautiful thing too, because she definitely helps and it makes things, much easier because we are friends. I'm not always searching and fiddling and trying to find somebody to make sure my hair is done. She was like, but don't get it twisted. I don't want to be Kash Doll and I don't want to be dolled up all the time. So there will be times where I'm just ugly. I'm just walking around with my wig braids out, a hoodie, some sweatpants, no high Crocs. She was like, because it's not always I want to look beautiful. Sometimes I want to be okay looking ugly. She was like, really and truly, you know who I am? I am the girl that goes from homeless to bad bitch, right? So it's either you see me looking homeless or you see me looking like a bad bitch, right? It's just at the times that I'm looking homeless, just let me be that, right? And what I also did like was this was a very, very comfortable interview. It was so comfortable that it made you feel like they all were three homegirls sitting down kicking it, right? You didn't get any shade. You ain't see any weird moments. There wasn't no awkward pauses. You could see that Cash felt comfortable talking to them. They felt comfortable asking her questions, even about her personal life. They felt comfortable giving her compliments. She felt comfortable receiving them. She was giving compliments. It was a really, 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 really nice interview. So anyway, Cash gave her little hair maintenance tutorial. All right. And you could also see that Lex P is more of like the free spirited, funny personality, kind of style, whereas Dre and Nicole is more the laid back one. And again, those opposites definitely attract, so they make for a good combination, right? They talked about Cash going to college, right? And she was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect anybody that can go through with that process and get their degree and go off and get their job and their pension and so on and so forth. She said, but for me, that lane just did not work for me. It was not my thing. I didn't feel happy doing it. I was used to making money very quickly, and I knew that I needed to be out in the forefront and in the limelight, and that lifestyle is not for me. So she said that's why she went into entertainment, right? Then they had stopped for a minute, right? And I thought this was really cute because I didn't even peep it because you cannot see it on the camera, so you wouldn't know it's there. But they stopped for a minute because they wanted to shout out. They had a mixologist there. They had a mixologist there, and when I tell you the mixologist was fire, her name was Ty, right? And she made this really, really cute drink, and she called it the Cash Commandments. And she said it was any liquor of your choice, grapefruit juice, ube syrup, fresh lemon juice, butterfly pea droplets, pomegranate seeds, fresh smoked rosemary, and she added a splash of champagne. Right, so I'll say that one more time in case you guys want to copy because it looked really pretty. It was purple, like she has here in her hand, and it looked like it tastes good. It was any liquor of your choice, which would for me would be vodka, grapefruit juice, ube syrup, fresh lemon juice, butterfly pea droplets, pomegranate seeds, fresh smoked rosemary, and some champagne. So I was like, wow, that looked really, really cute. I mean, she did a good job of mixing it, and she also was very nice. Ty was very nice as well. She was playing the background, playing the cut, but again, being very friendly. Even when she was coming out there bringing them their drinks, you could tell she felt open and like that was her, that she was claiming that space for herself as well. And they felt comfortable, right? Then they went on and they brought up the viral facial expressions of Kash Doll that went viral when she was on the Baddies Midwest auditions. And Cash was like, well, I don't have a poker face, right? And I also didn't know what I was walking into. So when I got there and saw all of this going on, I was like, is everybody okay? She was like, it was just a lot going on. She was like, I saw a girl's braid get literally ripped from her scalp. She was like, that's how barbaric this situation was. And she was like, once again, she didn't watch the show, so she didn't expect that. She said, and even when her sister, who does watch the show, had shared with her, like, Cash, you walking into something that's really no joke. She was on some girl. I'm from Detroit. I seen fights before. She said, but she just was not expecting that level of violence. She said she also wasn't expecting it because there's no real reason for it, right? Other than you trying to get on the show. She said, she's used to, even if I am seeing that level of violence, it's like, oh, you did something to my mother or you did something to my kid, not just you actually diving on a person and doing all of these things to them to hurt them that you don't even know just to get on the show. She was like, but at the end of the day, I'm not looking down on nobody. I'm not judging nobody. The same way how I said a 9 to 5 wasn't my lane, this also isn't my lane, but it's a lane for somebody, right? She said, but she had no idea her facial expressions really looked that bad until they went viral. She was like, oh, Lord. She said she looked confused and misunderstood, right? And then she talked about her friend Jasmine Renee being on the show. And she was saying, she really went there to support her friend because she wanted her to make it because she know that's something she wants. She also said, but let's not get it twisted. Zeus, y'all can't call me back because that motherfucking check cleared and it wasn't no little one. So I was like, yes, Kash Doll. They did say Zeus pays. They did say Zeus pays a hefty bag. That's what I heard, right? So then they moved on to what they called the Crash Out Queen segment, right? So Lex P asked both the ladies, um do you feel like crashing out over a person, meaning like arguing online, pulling out receipts, arguing with another person, doing things publicly, or do they prefer to move on gracefully? Right. So Cash Doll was like, me personally, I prefer a mixture. Okay. She was like, because I don't want to run completely to the internet. And I kind of looked at Cash Doll when she said this, but she did explain later. But at this moment, when she said this and I'm looking at her, I was like, Cash Doll, I don't think that's the truth, because I remember judging you when you did come to the internet to share that you and your kid's father wasn't together, when really I felt like it was none of our fucking business. But anywho, that's what she said. She said, I don't want to run to the internet, but that motherfucker gonna know how I feel, right? And she was like, I understood her point. She was like, basically, I personally feel like you need to let a motherfucker know how you feel, and let them know how much their actions impacted you, so they can make some form of change, right? So even if it's not change for the person they're with per se, or the person that they hurt, maybe they need to change for their children, maybe they need to change for their next spouse, but they need to know how hurt you were so they can make that change, right? She said, because she also feels like people tend to take advantage of folks that just move on gracefully. You moving on too quiet, too nice, so they feel like that behavior is okay, and then they end up repeating it over and over and over again. She also said that she doesn't feel like she necessarily went to the internet and crashed out. She just went to the internet to announce that her and Chucky T, Crispy T, Lovey T, whatever his name is no longer together, right? Um, I disagree with Cash Dollar for a few things there. I do think she went to the internet to crash out. And I do think she crashed out on the internet, because I do not think it was the internet's business for you to announce that you and him weren't together. Now, granted, had something happened, right? Like, say if somebody saw him in the strip club with another woman kissing, and then they said it to you, then fine, you can answer and be like, well, we're not together, so he's free to do that. I personally felt like when you announced it, you were trying to send him a smoke signal, like, oh my God, if he sees I'm staying in public, he gonna know I'm standing no business, and he might try to get his family back. That's what I felt like you was trying to do, Cash Doll. But you said you wasn't, so I have to take your word for it. The second part that I don't agree with her on is the whole, um, if you let folks know how you feel, then that would prompt them to change. Absolutely not, Cash. Absolutely not. I'm sorry to inform you. Hold on, you guys. I regret to inform you, Cash Doll, that that's not the way real life works. Number one on the list, if a person wants to change, they will. They will. They will not need to see, understand, or know, or be forced to by another person through another person's actions. If a person wants to change, they will. So thinking that you telling them how much you hurt them is going to automatically prompt them to do so, that might not never happen, and you might be setting yourself up for ruin. And what I think that also correlates to what I think I felt like you did, which was going to the internet and sharing you guys breakup. I think that that was all a part of you trying to make an impact on Tricky T or Lovey T or whatever the big partner name is. Once again, y'all still not together. So I'm guessing that that didn't prompt him to change, so it didn't need to happen. Me personally, I am not crashing out publicly. I pray that my mental health does not prompt me to do so, because I feel like, number one on the list, there's no issue with me sharing my personal feelings about a personal situation with my personal circle. But for me to go out into the world and open up the world to one of my weakest and almost vulnerable moments and expect them to just take me in, no, I'm just opening it up to the world for judgment. And then when I get judged, I'm going to get mad. That makes no sense. So for me, when she was saying they need both, I was saying, no, I'm going to do my best, if my mental health permits, to move on gracefully. I don't want to crash out for the world to see. And if I have to crash out, let it be amongst my people, so they can make sure that they insulate me, cover me, and keep me sane. Right. And she just was like, listen, me and him grew apart. I don't have nothing bad to say about him. We're cordial, we're graceful. We grew apart. We grew apart. She was like, and she's not out here going around the world telling them everything that happened in detail about their separation. But she says she's also not acting as if she doesn't feel anything. No, she's owning her feelings. She said, and a part of owning her feelings is saying right here, right now, that she's hurt. She's hurt. She said, I had 2 kids with a man, and the one of the main reasons that I did so is because I thought this was my forever. So to figure out that you've grown so far apart that the relationship can no longer work with the man you made children with is hurtful. She was like, so she struggled with that, and for a while, because once again, she thought this would be forever. So she said she's heartbroken. Right. She said, but she suggests that people face these type of things head on, be vulnerable, be honest, be open, and whatever you need to be to move forward. She was like, because at the end of the day, no matter what you feel, life goes on. Whether you like it or not, life goes on. Right. So they were saying, the other young ladies, hold on, you guys. The other young ladies were talking about like what moving on looks like and some of the weird things you could do when you trying to get a person jealous because you want them to still want you even though you done with them, or you might still want them, whatever. She was like, listen, moving forward for me looks like tunnel vision. She was like, so I don't be creating no fake pages peeking at the nigga. I don't want my views to see if he peeking at me. I'm not calling, I'm not texting, I'm looking straight ahead. She was like, so I take down pictures, everything. She was like, because for me, if I continue to live in that space, and I'm not going to move forward. She was like, and at the end of the day, that's the plan. Life is going on. She was like, so I just start thinking about what's best for me as a mom, as a woman, as an entrepreneur. And I start setting my focus on that. And I got tunnel vision from there. She was like, because that's the only way that I know how to heal. Right. So then they asked her if she'd be open to dating. So she was like, I'm open. She was like, I'm open. I'm single, so I'm open. She was like, then they asked her if she's a person that when she breaks up with a person, she's done, or do she kind of periodically spin the block? And she was like, well, I haven't spun the block at the moment. I haven't spun the block in this situation. She said, but also I'm a creature of familiarity. And because I like that so much, spinning the block is not far fetched. So now they both like, oh, you want your bitch? She's like, no, 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 no. That's not specifically for him. That's in general with any ex. Depending on how they carried our situation and where they are in their life right now, I'm not above spinning the block. It's in general, not just with my baby's father. I was like, okay. I was looking at her like, Kash Doll. They said that Trey Songz should knock you down. You want to head back in that direction? Because I think you could redeem his career if there's one to redeem. But okay, girl, we'll see. Um, and then she just talked about experience being life's greatest teacher and how people will try to tell you things, but you're like, listen, sometimes you have to grow through these things to know. You can't just let anybody tell you anything. And then she said, also said something that resonated with me. She said, another reason why people be crashing out, these women crash out over these men or over these women, however y'all want to see it, is because people make their relationships their whole life. And she was like, one, I told you earlier, you have to prioritize the relationships in your life. And if you're only prioritizing your romantic one, when that person is no longer there, of course you're going to crash out because that was all you had, right? And once again, I totally agree with Kash Doll when it comes to that. I totally agree with Kash Doll. I feel like in my own personal life, I'm striving for balance always. That's always what I'm striving for. But the only thing that I don't agree with Kash Doll with, and again, she and I are in different spaces in our life, with the whole, prioritizing all of those outside relationships. I'm only prioritizing the relationship that I have with myself because I need to be better and do better for and with Khadijah. Do I want to have a romantic relationship? Yes, I have one. Do I want to have a good relationship with my family? For the most part, yes, I have one. Do I want to have good friendships? For the most part, yes, I have one. Do I have good work relationships? For the most part, yes, I have that. But at the end of the day, none of those things are really a priority for me because I have to learn to start prioritizing myself. I set myself back too much focusing on other people first. So while I do agree with her that your romantic relationship shouldn't become your whole entire world, for me, loving my man as much as I do, I could exist without him. I just don't want to. Right. So I got where she was coming from with that. Right. And then she said, oh, you look like Jada Waiter about Dre and Nicole. She's like, yeah, me and Jada Waiter both hear that. Yada, yada, yada. Dre and Nicole, one of the girls on the interview, she talked about one of her crash out moments she had when they first started the podcast. And then Dre and Nicole and Lex P, the two hosts of the podcast, they were pretty much kind of like, I don't want to say debating, but they had different views on why women crash out. So Lex P was saying, well, I feel like most women crash out because the spouses that they have in their lives are their support systems. So if I depend on you to pay my rent or my bills and take full care of me, if you and I are no longer together, I'm going to have a meltdown because technically I need you, right? That's what she was saying. So I mean, I got that part of it, but I also got what Dre and Nicole was saying. Dre and Nicole was like, I don't think that's the only reason. She was like, I feel like, you can also crash out over a man when you really, really, really love them. So it's not really necessarily about, oh, you was funding my whole life and all that. It's just that I really, really, truly loved you. And now for us to be in this space, it's making me feel like I'm going fucking crazy. So they kept going, like, basically sharing their views. And I agree with both. I agree with both. I do feel like some women are kept women, that rely on the man so much that they can't live, breathe, or think without them. But then I also think there's women out here who are doing the keeping themselves, but just naturally and wholeheartedly love a person. And when that situation goes south, they really feel it, right? And Cash was saying she feel like it's both. It can be both. She was like, but she's also saying, just don't let somebody else become your whole life. Don't let a nigga be the reason you eat, because if they leave, they would be the reason you starve. She was like, a woman should always have her own. And if you want to get a man that takes care of you, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, always be able to take care of yourself, right? And then they brought up a topic that I also have many conversations about, which is men also choosing women who want to be kept women, and then doing the keeping and getting the woman to become so codependent on them, which is what they wanted, so they can then mistreat them. Right. And I've seen it a few ways. I've seen it where that's what men want. I've seen it where men are so used to taking care of women that it just automatically happens. They don't do it intentionally. I've seen it where men don't want to do it at all. I'm gonna have to agree with a Kash Doll here, where I would say have your fucking own, with or without, and that became real for me when my dad passed away, right? Because my dad and my mom were together 30 plus years. They had a beautiful relationship. My dad did not let us know about any illnesses that he had, at least I didn't know, right? And then my dad upped and died. And praise God that my mom was mentally and financially stable enough to get up and keep it together, rebuild herself, and live her life. Shout out to my stepdad. Today is my stepdad's birthday and he passed away. May he rest in peace. um but I imagine that had my mom left everything up to my dad, I don't know who she would have turned into once my dad passed away. So I saw how abruptly my dad was just gone, and I said to myself, that could happen to anybody. So I don't want to be a woman that relies on anybody solely for everything. That's just me, right? And I also would never want to be in a relationship where a man wants me to solely rely and be so codependent on them, and they enable that lazy bum bullshit. Because in my opinion, that's what that is, right? But there is some men out there that do that, and in my opinion, those are the lames. Because now I got you leaning on me, and now I'm going to hold it on you, right? And that's not fair. And then I've also seen men who, I didn't try to enable you being lazy. I'm just a caretaker, and I thought I was helping you, not knowing that I was enabling you, right? You got to get your own. You have to get your own, right? And then they moved on, and they had what was called the Dear Mama segment. And they talked about women who want to have children, but they're in fear of being single moms. And I looked at that TV and was like, why y'all telling my business? Because once again, that was very relatable to me as well. I just do not want to raise a child without being a family. And I know in this day and age is doable. So I'm not sitting up here with a straight face saying that it's impossible for folks to do it. No, I know there are strong women that do it every day. I know there are strong men that do it every day. Me, I just was raised in a family structure, in a family unit, and that's what I want for my child. So I would love to know that I am making a choice to have a child with a person that is going to be around for as long as God would allow before they take them up there with him. I do not want to have to dismantle or separate my family. So I totally understood, because the two ladies that host the podcast was like, that's a little bit of our fear, right? And Cash was like, listen, it's nothing to be afraid of. Babies are blessings, and you don't have to be scared of the way God blesses you. And I was like, Cash, that was a beautiful thing to say and a beautiful way to put it. But bitch, I'm petrified. Okay. I see too many situations where folks are in love and love and love and love and love and love and love. Baby come, the love go with the baby. Like I'm confused, and I don't want to have to separate my family unit and raise my kid as a single mother. And whoever I make a baby with, I'm almost sure and I can guarantee that they will be an excellent co-parent partner, right? But I don't just want to co-parent. I would like to be in a family unit. And I'm afraid that's not always possible. And it is something that I pray about because I do not want to separate my family, especially once we bring a baby into it. Right. So Cash Doll was just letting them know how Mother Get Hood gives you a whole new superpower, and they just talked about the real things surrounding co-parenting and babies. And they talked about how you do start to get that nervous feeling because you're getting older and your clock is ticking. And of course that's relatable to me too. I have some days where it's like, listen, I don't want to run out of time, so I might need to get moving. And then I have other days where it's like, I don't want no fucking baby right now, right? I'm not thinking about that. I'm not working towards that. And then the other part is like, well, why are you not working towards it? Is something wrong with you that you it's just so much to think about. So I like seeing other women have this conversation. I actually enjoyed it. Right. And then it was so sad. They all talked about what I got this from Grey's Anatomy, being a part of their dad's club. And all three of them talked about how their dads are no longer here, and how they feel like their dads are their guardian angels. Cash Doll was saying she has a lot of blessings and she feels like God don't play about her, but she said she feel like her pops is up there, bending God fingers back, like, listen, make sure you hold my daughter down, And I was like, wow, do I think of my dad often? Yes, everything I do is to make my dad proud because I feel like I didn't do enough of that when he was here. But do I necessarily think he's up there bending God fingers back to be like, take care of my baby? I don't know if I've ever felt that. So that was something that kind of stuck with me, like, wow, maybe that's something for me to think about, right? Um, they also talked about, they had something called the bed segment. And they was asking Cash about having sex post pregnancy. Is it different? Is your coochie stretched out? Can you move? Do you wait the 6 weeks? Yada yada yada. Cash was like, listen, girl, I ain't worried about nobody thinking I'm ugly. When I'm fat, I'm still gorgeous. I'm still that girl. So it was TTG for me, which was trained to go as soon as the babies came out of me, right? So Lex P was saying she had some fear surrounding natural birth. Shout out to my coworker Store who just gave birth yesterday. Shout out to the golden child. Congratulations, Store. And I am with Lex P. I am with Lex P. That is probably the absolute most scariest part for me, aside from raising the motherfucker, is actually pushing it out. So I understood Lex P once again. And like I said, it just felt good to hear other women have this conversation because it makes me feel like I'm not on this isolated island alone with these feelings. No, other people understand and know what I'm growing through because they are growing through it as well. Right. But Cash talked about like how some of that can become much easier, especially like postpartum if you work out. She was like, I'm not gonna lie, my daughter, which is my second baby, gave me the hardest time. And I always hear that. I always hear from parents that their second child is who gave them the hardest time during pregnancy and giving birth. You guys can drop down in the chat and let me know if that's true or false, right? She was like, but at the end of the day, she's very, very strong-minded, which is another blessing from her dad. So for her, it was like, listen, you're not going to sit around and mope. She said she spent like maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks bonding with her babies, letting them get acclimated with each other. And after that, she was back outside. She was back in the gym. She was back handling her business because she know it's things she had to do. And she was like, really and truly, it's all a mental game. If it's in my mind, then I can get it in my heart, then I can make it happen. So I was like, yeah, I like that, right? So then Cash Doll reversed the situation and she was like, listen, y'all ladies all in my business. Let me know about y'all. So Lex P was saying that she had been in a committed relationship for a year now. Dre and Nicole was like, after 2 years, she is now newly single, according to her, because Lex P was like, girl, them people are still together. They hang out all the time. They around each other every minute. She ain't broken up with that motherfucker. And I'm looking at Lex P like, girl, let her tell her own whole facts. Maybe she ain't want to tell old Cash Doll all of that in the first sitting. She just meeting this girl. But anywho, Dre and Nicole was laughing though. And she was like, I mean, so you could tell she loved that man and they gonna still make it work, right? Then excuse me. Then they moved on to a situation, to a segment called The Bop. And it was like, well, what music are you listening to now? And what's got you going? And Kash Doll's a piece of work. She was like, I'm sorry, I'm listening to my own music. So I'm listening to Comfy with me and Tink. And I'm listening to me and Dej Loaf's song, Ladies You Hear Me at Home. So I'm just listening to me right now. I like my music. I make music that I enjoy. And I like me. I was like, okay, Kash Doll. So, Lex P was like, well, I know we've been very clean cut in this interview, but I kind of want to sidebar into something a little messy. So Cash was like, go ahead, I don't mind. So she was like, well, what's going on with you and Asian Doll? Did that situation ever get resolved? So apparently Asian Doll had accused Cash Doll of stealing her song. So Cash Doll was like, well, first of all, I was annoyed when that even dropped because I'm going viral about allegedly stealing somebody's song who, number one, I didn't fucking steal. And number two, it was my son's birthday. I was at my son's birthday party. Like, it just annoyed me to know why I'm trying to enjoy a joyous occasion with my fucking kid. I'm going viral for some bullshit that I didn't even do. She was like, so that aggravated me. She was like, but really and truly, we never got a chance to sit down and hash it out. She was like, and I seen that at the Baddies auditions, and she didn't want no smoke, and I never wanted smoke from the beginning. So I guess pretty much we just coexist. And she was like, listen, I don't bother nobody, and I'm not bothered by nobody. That's the long and the short of that. So we're just in our separate corners existing in this rap world, right? And Cash just was saying, she was like, you know what? Another thing is too, like, I really just be doing my own thing. Like, being from Detroit, we like to show stop, we like to stunt. So when you seeing me looking good and show stopping, I'm not doing that to shit on no bitches or to make nobody feel bad. That's genuinely who I am. She said, I'm genuinely a shopper. I'm genuinely into fashion. I genuinely like to put that shit on. She was like, but me doing that is not to hurt anybody. If anything, I'm trying to motivate you. She was like, it even got to a point where she stopped wanting to post all her things because she didn't want to make people feel like she's trying to put it in their face. And the other two young ladies said something that I feel so that it resonated with me so much because I genuinely feel it in my heart, which is why I told y'all on the beginning of this interview how much I love watching people life stories and they glow up. When a motherfucker put that shit on, or when a motherfucker show you how they grinded from the bottom to get to the top, or when a motherfucker show you what success looks like after they put their blood and sweat and tears in some, and you see them go from the bottom top to the mountain top, that shit is motivation for a real motherfucker. I don't know about nobody else, but I ain't never felt like nobody who got to it, that made it happen, that looked good while doing so. I never felt intimidated by those spirits. I'm like, this bitch really getting the fuck to it. That was the same thing about physically, your aesthetic, right? I remember when I got to a point when I realized, like, you really need to lose some weight. Like, all this trying to be fat, looking cute shit is not working for you. You don't feel good. And at one point, you ain't looking good, right? And I remember looking at other people and saying to myself, I like your journey. I like your journey. I like your journey. So I will use those people's journey to motivate me. That's why if you guys seen yesterday when I did the baddies video, I talked about Akbar B. Akbar B motherfucking killed her surgical journey. She annihilated her surgical journey. I'm so fucking proud of her for that. Because if you see the way Akbar B used to look and you see the way Akbar B look now, she did that shit right. She did that shit right. She went through every step. Right? She went through the weight loss surgery. She got the excess skin cut off. She got the BBL. She went through the steps right. I like her journey. I'm following her journey now, right? But I'm not looking at it as, oh, that bitch thinks she all that. Like, come on, I don't know. Like, that's some hating shit. And when Kash Doll was saying it, I felt bad because it's a shame that the people that's really getting to it and making it happen feel like they gotta hide it because they don't want to make other people feel away. And I also can relate to that because that happened with my relationship. Truth be told, a lot of bitches don't got no good niggas. No shade. Parental discretion is advised on this part because I'm gonna start cursing. A lot of bitches don't got good niggas. A lot of bitches got niggas, but a lot of bitches don't got good ones. I love my fucking man. He is a good man. And when he came into my life and I could fully recognize that because I'm so good on my healing journey, I wanted the world to see, like, bitch, you can get this too. But at some point, I kind of felt like maybe I should stop talking about it because it really makes folks feel a way. And that's crazy to me. So I felt Kash Doll when she was saying all that, right? And she was like, they was talking about how, they judged her for having a baby shower in the Louis Vuitton store. And she like, sweetie, them people asked me. I didn't go up in there and was like, yo, can I have my baby shower here? No, I was in there doing what I naturally do, shop. I'm always shopping in there. So they offered that to me and I appreciated it and I took it as a gift. Why should I feel ashamed about that? And why am I being judged about it? And I was thinking the same fucking thing. Like, people crazy. But anyway, then Dre Nicole said she was listening to my niece. Let's go, Big Glow. She was listening to her album. She said her favorite song on there is Glorilla and Kirk Franklin. I was like, okay, I'll take that from you, girl. But I mean, she got some other bops on there. She got I Ain't Going. She got Don't Deserve It. She got Procedure. What's the other one I love with her? Meg. That's my song. Oh, she got What You Know About Me with Sexy Red. She got How I Look with Meg. Like, the whole album is a bop. I've been told y'all. My niece did not come to play. She put foot on necks with that album, and I'm proud of Let's Go Big Glow. And Lex P said she was listening to Tanner Adele. I didn't know who the fuck that was. So I was like, ooh, okay. Maybe I need to check that out and broaden my music perspective because I only listen to old music, right? I don't know. And sometimes some of these young ratchets. And then they had like this Pour Your Heart Out segment where people were writing letters in and they were answering as hosts and blah, 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 blah. Then it was the ending. They talked about how much they loved Kash Doll's character on BMF and how sad they were she died. And she was like, no, that person really died in real life. So eventually I was gonna have to go anyway. She was trying to teach them like some Detroit lingo. I thought that was really, really cute. And then she just talked about her album coming November 15th. I want you guys, I'm gonna drop down in the comments section. Also, I'm gonna drop down in the description box and leave the link to this interview. This interview was really good. If you are a girl's girl, you like Kash Doll, and you just looking to see some women have some good, deep conversation without no shade and no BS, y'all check out this Poor Minds interview. I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually gonna start watching their podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were here today, thank you for tuning in. Please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. If you would like to send a super chat, please feel free. And if you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And thank you for tuning in. You lovely people. Enjoy your day.